Hi, I'm Alicia. Hi. So, I'm doing videos where I vocalize thoughts I have while on my walks that I need 50% need, 50% have to do in Los Angeles. And I'm doing one right after I just ended another because there was something I really wanted to say. 2 videos ago, earlier today, like not that long ago, like 3.5 hours ago ish, I was talking about how Star Trek can be dull, but it um, the philosophy it puts through, like via mythology. So I gave 2 examples of why Star Trek is awesome overall. And maybe this isn't even, maybe this is like zero interesting because Star Trek is actually pretty big and I just wasn't raised that way. So, um, like, I only remember seeing just like having like a TV on with Star Trek on like a couple times prior to when I watched, excuse me, as a family we watched Star Trek the original, the first Star Trek film with Shatner and with Nimoy. We did do that, and I actually didn't like it, and I still say that that's not a fantastic film. But that was like the only time we sat down, and then yeah, it was like on TV a couple times while I was in the room, you know. So then in 2016, I watched Wrath of Khan, and I watched The Search for Spock. The Search for Spock is meh. The Wrath of Khan is phenomenal. It's so phenomenal. And I remember posting on social media about how much I was into it, but then I didn't do like for the next like 7.5 years, almost 8 years, nothing. And then last year, I started again. I was sick. I was so sick for 10 days. I still had a work contract though, and I got it done. And I obviously I honestly felt like Jordan in the flu game of '97 in Salt Lake City, Utah, where unfortunately my Jazz were the victims of Michael Jordan heroically putting forth a great game, because he was sick. It's honestly how I felt because I was really sick. So I started Star Trek again last year during that time in April of 2024. And I have to say, I posted on LinkedIn about how I felt like I did a Jordan thing and finishing this contract while sick. And you know, doing this video right now, I think I wasn't doing something physical like Jordan was doing, but I was really sick though. And I posted on LinkedIn, and the head of the Department of College of Humanities and Social Sciences, now the Department of Arts and Sciences at Utah State University, liked it. And I thought it was cool because he's, obviously a big achiever. And Joe Ward, here's to you, Joe Ward, if you happen to somehow watch this. So, a couple other things, themes in Star Trek that make it worth seeing. Oh, and I was gonna say, I'm so sorry. I'm doing a little bit of the weave, not weave, but maybe this isn't interesting because Star Trek's actually pretty big, right? And I just didn't really realize this until literally like 2 weeks ago. But that said, Star Trek The Next Generation offers an idea that in the future we could look back on patriotism as so silly that we're almost dropped my phone that doesn't have a case on it right now. Um, they're right that really we're just citizens of the earth, and being all tribal about a country, they're just really being very much being tribal about a government of a country, which government always is at risk to be corrupt and is always having transparency issues. And I mean always. I do speak in an absolute there. I learned that through my schooling and experience in journalism. It's just, so yeah, that was an idea. It was like patriotism. We could look back on that and be like, what in the world? Why were we being patriotic? It doesn't mean you like are anti the country you live in, but to like regard your country as a religion or something like that is just, too much. Sorry that I'm going through a dark patch. And then another amazing idea, and possibly the biggest idea, well, that's, there's always going to be debates about that sort of thing, the biggest idea from a production. But is that Star Trek shows the crews are in the future, and they're part of a society that's very like respectful, and they're very like affirming of people and respect civil rights and don't do war. And you go like, oh wow, like, could humankind achieve this? And then it also reminds you like some things aren't right versus left issues. Some things are just like war is bad, peace is good. I'm really amazed that in my upbringing I was raised Republican, and to think that the peace was like a bad word. And I don't mean hippies. See, I think it's even weird to have to say that. Like, just peace is a good word. Peace is a good thing. Just like calmness and just like mutual respect. Peace is only a totally good thing. And I like that Star Trek shows that some things, they're really moral things. They're not right versus left. Not going to war is moral. And being respectful of people is moral, and being supporting civil rights is moral. And so I really wanted to say that because that's like, I like Star Wars, raised on Star Wars. Piece of my heart will always be in Star Wars, I think. But Star Trek has more important messages.